I think we play the music that we like to play, and perhaps you can hear it. I don't know. It's like, because when we make music, we never just make the music we like ourselves. We don't really think about how people are going to react and stuff like that.
Greetings, friends. Welcome to episode 176 of Into the Necrosphere. This week, I am catching up with Draugluin of the legendary Tsjuder about their upcoming record, Helvegr. I spoke to Dragluen about the early days of the band. I spoke to him about the writing of this record, why it took so goddamn long for them to produce something new, and a whole lot more. It was a slightly shorter interview than I think that you've all become accustomed to on this podcast, and that was in part because he had a deadline that he needed to meet. So great conversation either way. It's going to be coming your way imminently. Straight after that, don't go anywhere, because I'm also going to be talking about the new Nightmare record, and I will be inviting a very special guest to join me for the weekly news rant. So that's coming your way over the course of the next 2.5 hours. But before we get to any of that, Omnikoloss is a new project featuring members of Captain Caveman and Stellar Master Elite, who anybody that listens to this podcast should definitely not be unfamiliar with. They have just put out a new record called Wandering Through Concrete Valleys. I think it is absolutely fantastic, and I believe that it deserves a lot more attention than it's currently getting. So therefore, I bring it to you, the legions. For your listening pleasure, this is Omnikoloss with Swallow You Whole. Omnikoloss with Swallow You Whole off their new record, Wandering Through Concrete Valleys. It is available right now on Bandcamp. Link in the description to the podcast, as always. And if you head over there and you buy yourself some music, do let them know that it was old Jackson at Into the Necrosphere that sent you. My friends, if you're new to the podcast, welcome. I hope you guys enjoy the show. And if the spirit moves you to do so, please feel free to elbow drop that subscribe button off the top rope on your platform of choice. Also, follow me on social media. The show is on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you really want to show your love and support for the show, then head over to the Into the Necrosphere Teespring store. Pick yourself out a t-shirt or a hoodie. Tag me on the socials if you wear it. And any money that I make on the Teespring store obviously will get plowed straight back into the show. Most importantly, make sure that you are following my fellow horseman of the podcast Apocalypse. My friend Brandon Legion brings you Horrible 666 every Monday. Every Tuesday, there's yours truly casting hexes and slaying poses on Into the Necrosphere. Every Wednesday, Sensei Mike Hill brings you the longest running podcast amidst our ranks, Everything Went Black. And then he also returns on a Thursday with one of my favorite podcasts of the week, Necromaniacs, alongside his co-hosts Jeff Kashid and Mike Scandado. And then every Sunday, the Reverend Karl Hikara brings you the Devil's Message on the Lord's Day with his weekly podcast, Sol Nox. Sit back and relax right now. This is Draugluin of Tsjuder. So welcome to Into the Necrosphere, brother, and hot off the heels of, I think you have, by the time we're recording this, you guys have put out 2 singles so far off this new record. I've actually got the whole thing and I've heard it already as well. I think just first thing to say, it's great to have you guys back. And it's great to have you back sounding so fired up and pissed off. I mean, like, this to me is like when both the singles that I heard, and you hear it across the rest of the record too, it sounds like a band of hungry lions that are kind of new to the scene, I was curious where that energy comes from. Are you on testosterone replacement therapy by any chance, or is it just are you guys just glad to be playing again?
I don't know. Perhaps we're just glad we're playing. It's I think I think we haven't changed that much since we started in the early 90s, I think. And we have always tried to keep like the energy and the intensity or the brutality of the music quite high. So we are a bit conscious about it. We want Tsjuder to be aggressive.
Yeah. And in terms of the response that you've had so far to the singles, how do you feel about how our fans have reacted to it? Because obviously it's been, I think, 8 years since your last record, and I feel like the world and maybe to a degree people's tastes have changed quite a lot during that time as well. So are you getting a sense of that in the way people are responding to the new music?
Yes, but I think at least that's what they tell me. If they really don't like the music, they usually don't tell it straight to my face. but most of the guys and women would talk about the music, says that it's kind of nice that it sounds like something that could have been made a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the same spirit, and I guess there are still bands that does music like that, but I think we are getting fewer and fewer. So there are not that many bands left that makes this kind of old school black metal.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think it's. I mean, I think what stands out for me from it is it's old school, but there's still the conviction is still there. It still convinces me. I think there's a lot of bands that do it, but it doesn't sound like their heart is in it anymore. Whereas, you listen to this record, and I shan't name the name of the band that I would compare it to directly, who are also, also old school Norwegian, bringing out a new record soon, because I don't want to put you in an awkward spot, but people will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But the difference between the two, even though it's the same style of music, you guys just sound like you sound like you truly still believe in what you're doing, and it really like comes out and really grabs you when you hear this new music.
Yeah, thanks. It's thank you. So I think we play the music that we like to play, and perhaps you can hear it. I don't know. It's like, because when we make music, we never just make the music we like ourselves. We don't really think about how people are going to react and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we do make the selection afterwards, because some of the songs are not. If the song is not fit for Tsjuder, like in how we think Tsjuder should be, then we do not include it on the album. So there's some selection based on the band and how we want the band to be.
Yeah. So with I mean, when you talk about like songs that I guess that make it onto the album and songs that don't, or ideas that don't, like what would you say is the threshold roughly? Like how many songs would you typically write or kind of have ready for a Tsjuder record, and then how many would kind of be discarded along the process to getting the record put together, or getting the end product put together, I should say.
On this album, we actually have 2 more songs recorded, and that is not featured on the album because the album would be too long for vinyl, and also it would be, I guess it's, at least we think it's kind of varied, so if we include too much, it may be a bit too hard to grasp the album. So there are 2 recorded songs that are not included, and then there's also lots of songs that are not like finished, or they have been cannibalized, like we use some of the riffs from them. So yeah, but it's kind of hard selection process. I think it's better to release a bit fewer albums and try to make them as good as we can.
Do you do a lot of writing together, or like do you collaborate a lot with Jan Erik, or is it is this you guys kind of bring individual ideas to the table and then that's how songs get put together?
It differs between the albums. So most of the albums we make riffs and then we meet and we create the songs. 2 exceptions is this one is a bit different because on this album I made all the music except for one of the songs, which is Faenskap and Død. So this is a bit different. And also Desert Northern Hell was a bit different because Eric lived in Australia. And then also I made most of the music by myself.
Have you done any traveling or any living abroad yourself, or was it just him?
No, just him.
Just him.
I'm too boring. I just stay where I am.
Where in Norway do you live?
Close to Oslo.
And is that where you grew up as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So what was your childhood like? What was it like growing up in that part of Norway? And I guess what was Norway like during the time that because you are roughly about the same age as me, I think. So I'm 43 years old now.
Yeah.
And I think we're kind of part of the last generation that didn't grow up entirely with the internet. So what was it like growing up when you were a young buck?
I think I had a very normal childhood. Nothing special. So of course, when I got a bit older, we entered the early 90s in Norway, which if you were into black metal, that was of course a bit special time. Kind of intense time in Norway if you are like a young Norwegian black metal kid.
Oh yeah, very very much so. So how old were you when all of that started happening?
So I was born in 78. So it depends on when you think, but yeah.
So you would have been about
14 or 15 when we started Tsjuder.
And you would have been about 14, 15 when, actually maybe a little bit younger when the like the second wave of Norwegian black metal kicked off and Mayhem Burrs.
You're a bit younger than them. They're a bit older than us. Yeah.
Were you already into black metal by that point? Like when they started?
Yes, or it depends. I kind of. So my first meeting with that kind of music, so I listened to bands like Bathory before I listened to Darkthrone, and then I remember the Death Crush album, and Mysteris. So I've been kind of and Celtic Frost and Venom and all those and the old thrash bands. So I've been there for a while. I guess you can say. Yeah.
Before that, or before you discovered black metal, what was some of your first experiences with music? Like the first things that you heard, or the first music that you can remember exciting you?
When I was a kid, I've always been very interested in music, so I was discovering my parents' vinyl collection, and they had Black Sabbath and Jimi Hendrix, Cream, some Kiss, stuff like that. Rolling Stones. Actually, the first band I ever played in was a cover band of Rolling Stones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I was like 11 years or so. I mean,
Wow.
I'm sure it sounded like shit, like really bad, but yeah.
So, out of that old collection, what were the bands that you liked the most, or what were the artists or the songs that you were gravitating to the most?
It depends on the time, on the time period. But for me, I was really fascinated by Jimi Hendrix, and also Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath was like, yeah, I remember Black Sabbath is the first album, with this, yeah, and the mystic and kind of the evil image and the like, the riffing and everything. I really liked that.
Yeah. What was the feeling that you had when you first heard Black Sabbath as an album? Because so when I think about how I discovered it, my discovery of Black Sabbath was a bit sort of reverse. I only really got into Black Sabbath after I'd already gotten into metal. I discovered metal through AC/DC, and then Guns N' Roses,
of course, I forgot to mention
and then I was like, right,
yeah.
I need to go back and check out all these old bands that Metallica are saying I need to listen to. So I was like, I listened to Black Sabbath, Kiss, Danzig, all that sort of stuff, Venom, Motorhead. So I got into it in a roundabout way. But I do remember hearing Black Sabbath in particular for the first time, and it's it's a really creepy album. I mean, to this day, like if when I hear that opening to Black Sabbath, it's just like it's a very dark, like foreboding record, and I think because of the way that it was recorded, it creates a feeling like very, very few others.
It's just a very, very good album. Yeah. So I had the same with other stuff. So I'm talking about Black Sabbath and stuff like that. But then I kind of went quite fast into Metallica and Slayer and of course Venom and Celtic Frost and all those bands. So I lost lots of the classic heavy metal. So bands like Judas Priest and stuff like that, I started discovering later.
So you kind of did it. You skipped over quite a few of it as well.
Yeah.
What was your first encounter with like the heavier stuff with Slayer, Metallica? What was the first stuff that you heard?
I don't remember. Sorry, I don't remember. It's no, I'm sorry. Could be. It depends on what's the heavy band, if it's Metallica or if it's Slayer or.
Yeah.
But it's so I don't know.
And at what point during this? So you would have been kind of 9-10 years old. Like at what point did you start to develop an interest in playing? Like actually playing. Like decided you want to be a musician.
I started to play guitar when I was I think 10 years old or something. And then we started this cover band, as I told you about, which was horrible.
When you were 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keith Richards was like a hero at that time.
But that must have been super exciting, though, to at 11 years old, have that feeling of being with other people together in a room, making music together.
Yeah. Yeah, it was exciting. We had this cellar with it was not big amps. It was kind of small because we couldn't afford like proper amplifiers. But it was exciting.
And was it something that you guys confined to just the rehearsal space, or did you actually go and play, a couple of backyards, or a couple of
we
did you put on your own shows?
Yeah, but not many. And that was like, first it was like this in school, when you're a kid, and if you can play for the school, you're happy with that. And youth clubs and stuff like that a bit later, but Tsjuder has never done any stuff like that, of course.
No, I was going to say, I can't imagine Tsjuder going down well at the youth club. So. What were the out of interest? Because I quite like Rolling Stones still. So, what were the songs that you guys would cover?
Jumping Jack Flash and Satisfaction. Where we tried also Honky Tonk Woman, but it was not good. It was really bad. So, yeah.
Did you ever hear the cover that Guns N' Roses did of Jumping Jack Flash?
No, I'm not sure. I've heard Motorhead did Jumping Jack Flash, didn't they? At least I think Motorhead did it, but I'm not sure.
I think I think they might have, but yeah, there's on the like extended version of Appetite for Destruction. There's two versions. There's an electric version that they do of it, and then there's an acoustic version. And the acoustic version I actually think is like the best. It sounds like when they recorded it. Obviously, this was at the height of them, being boozed up. So you get the sense that they were the vodka and the beer was flowing when they were recording that. But it kind of has that. It sort of has that edgy outlaw kind of vibe to it, which I really like. Yeah. I think they added a nice spin to the song.
Yeah.
So, where at what stage did you meet Jan Erik, and what were you? Because legend has it, I would say, you guys met when you were still at school.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think we were 13 or 14. 13. I don't remember exactly, but we met because we had like a common friend, and Eric and Martin Berserk wanted to start a band, and then they needed another guitar player, and then he told them about me because he knew this guy also was into black metal. And then so we met for playing together. We were not friends before we started the band.
When you met and the conversation to start the band had begun, did you guys hit it off straight away?
Yeah, Eric and Berserk had met a couple of months. I don't know how long before. A couple of months. We just started. We tried to play together, and it worked out fine. So.
What was it about the dynamic that the two of you had? Because obviously, you've had a very, very long-standing partnership with him now. I mean, one that's I would say maybe it's coming into its 30th year now that the two of you have been working together, and you've not really ever been separate in terms of there's never been a period where you've at least as far as I know where you've left the band or where he's left the band, whatever the case may be, and that's a rarity in music. So what in those early days, what was it that kind of made you feel comfortable with him or made you enjoy playing with him?
I think one nice thing with me and Eric is that we are very different. So what I am good at, he's not so good at, and what he's good at, I am not so good at. So together we I think we form like a decent team. That's one reason at least. And also we have always shared like the vision for the band. We have shared all the way, which is perhaps a bit luck, I don't know. But we kind of agree. And if we do not agree, we always can discuss it and find like something that we're both happy with.
And when you say the things that you're good at versus what he's good at, can you tell me a bit more about that? Like what would you say in particular you bring to the band versus what he brings to the band?
So he is way better at dealing with press and stuff. I'm not so good at that. I'm talking with you now, but I'm not so good at that.
Yeah.
I'm not so good at being social with with the band. It's really important to have connections and all that stuff, which is not really my strong side. But perhaps I write a bit more music, so yeah, kind of.
You're doing fine so far,
Yes,
by the way.
he also composed music. That's important. Of course, he does, and lots of music. But yeah.
Yeah, as I said, you're doing fine so far, and I'm definitely not accredited press, so you don't need to worry about that.
Yeah.
So when you guys were getting going, how did you find the scene at that stage? Was the scene very kind of insular, closed down, or were you guys welcomed into the scene with a lot of those more established names that were already up and running and had built a reputation up for themselves by that point?
We were a bit younger than the old bands, and I think in the early days we were also. I mean, if we compare the early Tsjuder stuff to stuff like Dark Throne released at that time, I mean, there was a gap in quality.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. So we were younger and less experienced, and yeah, we met them sometimes, but it was always a couple of years between us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did like the bands that you did interact with at that time? Who were they?
Bands like Isvin, if you know about them, and a bit later, Eric also played in Gehenna, Ragnarok, 3049 when they arrived. So, but yeah, but they are more on our age,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the like the older bands, when you guys played shows with them and things like that, how did you find the attitude was towards you there? Were they supportive of the younger bands, or were they they sort of wanted you to prove yourself before you earned their respect?
I don't think we ever played with the first gig we did with Mayhem was in the 2000s, not in the 90s. So and also Immortal, we did not play with them before later. We did not play with those big bands, and also Gorgoroth. All these bands we have played with, but later. Yeah, I don't think we ever did a concert with one of those big bands in the 90s.
When you were
Maybe wrong, but I don't
were coming up.
So, yeah.
And the audiences generally, I mean, like, I think one of the things that I think is very admirable about you guys is I was looking at I was just skimming through your Facebook page to kind of get, see what the latest news was with the band before I spoke to you. And I noticed you guys have 110,000 followers on your Facebook page. And you developed a degree of popularity and a kind of a level of you're operating at a certain level in the genre. What I appreciate is very much at your own terms. Like, there's been, like, this is one of the bands where there is absolutely zero compromise in the way you make music, the way you approach music, your stage performance. Every single thing about the band is completely and utterly uncompromising. But you've still been able to build a reasonably sizable audience. So I guess, again, the question is, like, the audiences in those old days, how were they responding to you guys? And did you guys find your audience or your niche early on, or did that take time? When you were starting out?
Took some time, but quite early, I think. When it comes to Facebook and stuff like that, I don't have Facebook, and as I told you, I'm not so good at stuff like that. So I have no idea about how. I guess that's
so. You could be like the biggest band under the sun. You just you don't know.
I know that we have some followers there, but I don't have Facebook.
Yeah,
or Instagram or any of that stuff.
So over the years, how have you found the scene? And I guess being in a band playing this style of music, how do you how has the business and the scene changed and evolved over the last couple of years?
It's changed a lot, I think, especially if you compare like the Norwegian black metal today compared with the early 90s is very different. How people react and also the extremity, everything is a bit. It's not as extreme as it was, and it's more like people. Yeah, but I remember when black metal first became like, the early 90s, and then it started to. Some bands were not that extreme. They had this very rough image, but they played like what I consider very soft music with lots of synthesizers, and and I didn't like it because I felt that they're like kind of, can you say, watered out black metal? I don't know if that's like a term, but it got, the essence of black metal got kind of compromised.
I would strongly agree with you on that, but yeah.
And then, I mean, those bands got really big, and today people associate black metal with that kind of music, or at least lots of people do. And I don't know, I don't really care anymore. So, but black metal has changed over the years. But I think Tsjuder has, at least as I feel it, we have stayed more or less the same. So in a way, the environment around us have changed a lot, but I don't think we have changed that much. Of course, we have gotten old and gray and all that, but I don't think this, like, the core of Tsjuder or the spirit of Tsjuder is, I think it's lots of the same as it was early on.
Yeah.
I hope so, at least.
Well, I definitely feel that's the case, and as I said, I think what comes screaming out of the new music when you hear it is there's still a real love and a real passion for what you do. It doesn't feel like you're just going through the motions, which I think a lot of the older bands, I feel like when you've done a certain style of music for a long time, or you've been around it, all of your life, and as you get older, you change as a person. I think it becomes obvious to me that there are some people that still genuinely believe in what they're doing, and there's other people that do it because they believe that's what's expected of them, and maybe what they would want to do as an artistic expression by themselves is actually something that's quite different. It's not, maybe they wouldn't want to do black metal at all, but they know that's what they're known for, and so therefore that's what they play to their brand.
Yeah. Perhaps it's easier if you're not a big band. I mean, Tsjuder is kind of small band, so we don't feel the pressure as much as the bigger bands, perhaps. I don't know. But I agree with what you're saying.
I would definitely agree with you that I think in the late 90s, like early 2000s, I definitely think black metal got very watered down by a lot of the bands that would they almost try to kind of romanticize the image of black metal, and the guys were running around with wearing cravats, and they had this very, it was like extreme on one end, but it was also quite a soft image in my view. There wasn't anything really shocking about it. It just started looking stupid. It looked like a carnival act. And then I do personally think that what turned the tide there, like I don't think the album gets enough credit for it, but I've spoken about it in the podcast before. But I think Ad Majorem Satanas Gloriam, the Gorgoroth record, I think was an album that really, really turned the tide, and it put shock, especially the tour that they went on in support of that record. It really kind of brought that shock element of black metal back to the fore, that abrasive, like in your face element. And then, you started to see bands like Marduk really step up their game. You guys put out fantastic music at that time. I feel like a lot of the bands that kind of were going to sort of maintain the old school ideals and help drive the genre forward, I feel like really stepped up around that time. But for me, a big catalyst that kind of wiped a lot of the fake shit off the ceiling was Ad Majorem Satanas Gloriam. That to me was a very, very, it was a very pivotal record. And actually, I would also say another one that was, I think, very critically important was Desert Northern Hell.
Oh, thanks.
Because that was like, again, I mean, it's like a fucking full blown, tank assault when you listen to it. And again, like, around the time where a lot of bands were softening up, just utterly uncompromising.
Yeah. So the thing with black metal, I think the visual aspect of black metal, with the spikes and corpse paint and all that. I mean, it's extreme, but I also think it's like there's some commercial appeal in that because it's so, I don't know, you have Kiss as an example, but I mean, I think people are a bit interested in that, but the music, like the true black metal music, they do not like because it's so extreme and it's really hard to like proper black metal. So when you have bands that have all the spikes and all the leather and everything, but the music are really soft, it makes for a quite good commercial package, I think.
Yeah, it's a way to kind of, I guess, sell the visuals in a way that people are going to find more palatable, rather than what it was meant to be, which is, every aspect of it is kind of designed to be very abrasive and very confrontational.
Yeah.
You still sorry, you were going to say?
When it comes to like how music is produced, I also think that it's important now, and we really try that on Helvegr, not to overproduce the album. So, I mean, if you have, for example, like the drums, if everything is like edited, so everything is like completely on grid, and all the nasty sounds of the guitars, like resonances and stuff like that, are removed, and all that stuff, which are really quite usual to do today. I think we did not do that, and we did not want to do it because we wanted to keep like the rawness of the music intact. And too many bands today, I think, are, because when you start working on music, it's kind of, you work with it and you polish it and it's get better and better, but there is like a threshold. And if you do too much, you start to ruin the music. You're sucking the life, or the brutality are sucked out of the music, as you also remove all those nasty sounds of the guitars and stuff like that.
I also actually, I wonder sometimes whether the changes in the way that music is being mixed and produced right now isn't because with digital mixing, digital production versus recording mixing in an analog fashion, you see everything visualized now, right? And our brains have this natural tendency towards seeking order or seeking perfection. So when you're, I don't even know the technical term for it, but when you're fucking around with the bars or the whatever they're called, the fucking
equalizers and stuff like that,
the equalizers, all that sort of stuff, you like, your brain wants to see that degree of perfection, or that sort of crisp, beautiful, perfect flowing pattern, and exactly to your point, it almost creates a case where the music ends up sounding very, very sterile because of it, rather than you go back to we were talking about Black Sabbath, think about like the first Kiss album, you're a song like Deus. It's a song that could appeal to, and it has certainly appealed to millions and millions of people, but there's still like a rawness to it. There's like an edge and like a spontaneity to it that you just don't find in a lot of music that comes out, or that's come out since kind of the early 2000s. And that is a shame, because I think especially with black metal, it needs that spontaneity for it to be to feel really effective.
Yeah, and if there is something that is not, if there are lots of small errors, some big also in Helvegr, that we kept, because they are like a part of the performance, and we wanted to keep it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, in terms of stuff coming out now that you listen to or that inspires you, is there any music that you like? That, because I will say this, like I can be sharply critical about some stuff about the business and about the scene that I think has changed, that I don't like, but I do think black metal right now is in the healthiest state it's been in for many, many years. There's a lot of very, very cool bands coming out. a lot of younger bands doing super exciting stuff, going back to that old, really kind of violent feeling, and it's just bands doing just brutal, awesome stuff. There's a lot of the, the man crying by the river style black metal. That's that's kind of dead in the water. I'm sure there's people make it, but there's so much other shit. It's kind of drowning that out.
Yeah. We got that question a couple of days ago in an interview about her lyrics. The woman asked, "Don't you want to make some proper lyrics with some depth and like meaning?" And Eric said no, and I said no, and that was nothing more to say there. We didn't, but yeah, when it comes to newer bands, I'm really bad at this. I should be better on it to listen to newer bands. Like the last album that I really liked that was released was Northern Chaos Gods from Immortal, and that's kind of old. But that's not because I don't like
Metallica, the Black Album.
yeah, but I have to work with this. If Jan Erik had been there, it would have been much better because he's way more updated on the.
So what's it like when you listen to music nowadays? What do you listen to?
I listen to all kinds of music. I listen to lots of course, I listen to black metal, but I also listen to death metal, like old school death metal, like Cannibal Corpse and Bloodbath and the East Side, stuff like that. And then I listen to Motorhead, and I listen to also stuff that are not even rock and roll, like Portishead, stuff like that. So I listen to lots of music.
Love me some Portishead.
Massive Attack. Johnny Cash. I listen to lots of stuff, but I'm not so updated on your black metal. But I do think it's important if you want to create, even if you want to play black metal, like strict black metal. I think it's important to listen to lots of different types of music. So
I agree with you.
It's kind of a narrow band, but I think still it's important to have a broad.
I agree with you 1000%, and I've been observing it over the last couple of years, and I definitely think one of the things that I notice is the older bands that are able to stay relevant and to stay making music that sounds fresh and interesting and captivating are the bands where that there is a person or multiple people in that band who are genuinely still true fans of music. And I'm not metal music, whether they're listening to Massive Attack, or whether they're listening to Queens of the Stone Age, or whether they're listening to Radiohead, they could be listening to fucking rap. It doesn't matter. The guys that are making stuff that's compelling are the guys that are still genuinely fans of music first and foremost. Shane Embury is a good example, right? I think there's a massive difference between the quality of a new Napalm Death record and the quality of several other generic bands that have been around for 30, 40 years. And when you read an interview with one of the guys, or you see an interview with one of the guys, they'll ask them, "Oh, what music do you listen to?" "Nothing. I don't want to hear any music when I'm come off tour." It's like, so you're not interested in anything other than what your band is making. Yeah. So no surprise your music sounds so creatively stale. Like there's just nothing that's changed or evolved or gotten better about it, because there's what's inspiring you externally, aside from to the point that we made earlier, just wanting to play to your brand.
Yeah.
That massive you mentioned Massive Attack, though. There are some fucking fantastic Massive Attack records. Yeah. I think is it Heligoland or Heglioland?
Yeah, I think it's Heligoland. I have no idea how to pronounce it. The album that I listened, I don't know how to pronounce that either, but that's like Mezzanine. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
I think that's like,
and you were correct. It is Heligoland. Is that album? I like Mezzanine very much, but I've gone to too many hi-fi shows, and the problem is when you go to a hi-fi show, all you fucking hear is Fleetwood Mac, Dire Straits, and Mezzanine. You hear Angel and like, so many different rooms. It's unbelievable because everybody, like all the manufacturers, have like they'll have their speakers up and their amplifiers and their DACs and all their stuff, and almost all of them are testing it playing Angel. So I've heard that song. I love the song, but you hear that song.
Didn't know about that.
If you go to the Munich Hi-Fi show, you'll hear that song 50 to 60 times in the space of a day, easily. But I mean, again, what I love about that band is the fact that they were able to kind of color outside the lines. And I've always said I think it's a mark of a truly fantastic band when their fan base cuts across so many different genres. Like I remember going to watch The Prodigy in London last year, and there were people in the audience with Deicide t-shirts. There's people in the audience with fucking, Emperor t-shirts. And then there's like the most Dayglow, old school raver, like standing there in the crowd, and everybody's into it. And I said to my girlfriend at the time, I was like, that is the sign of a great band. Like it doesn't matter what genre of music you're into. It doesn't matter whether you profess to be, a black metal man or like a death metal dude or whatever the case may be. Yeah. People hear that and they go, "That's great." I don't give a shit. That
Prodigy. I also like Prodigy. Also, the later stuff. What's the song? The night is my enemy, or
the day is my enemy.
The day is my enemy, of course. Yeah.
Dude, genius song. And when I was, so I've seen them live 3 times now. When I saw them at Alexandra Palace, this was like 2015. I was like properly beard up. And I moshed my way to the front. And when they did The Day Is My Enemy, Maxim was like standing above me, like high-fiving me. It was fucking brilliant. But yeah, what a fantastic band. But I definitely think, like, as a musician, you have to have a broad palette of stuff you're listening to, because, as I said, otherwise what is there to inspire you if you're just listening to your own music?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Just on the topic of death metal, though, you guys have landed yourself a fucking human battering ram in the shape of Mr. John Rice, formerly of one of, I think, the most disgustingly underrated death metal bands ever, Job for a Cowboy. Like people kind of wrote them off as a MySpace band, but I mean, whoever did that has not listened to, especially their later stuff, like Sun Eater, for example, is absolute genius.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
We had been a bit in contact with him before, but basically we just asked him if he wanted to do the drums on Helvegr, and because we know about him. I mean, he's an exceptional good drummer. I played with lots of good drummers, but I think I've never played with some. I'm not at that level. So we asked him and he said yes, and it worked out really well. So we have also played, so far we have only played one concert with him in Atlanta, which also was okay or very good. So we hope to use him more in the future.
And he plays drums on the record as well, right?
He does the drums on Helvegr, and as I told you, we haven't edited this album much, and the drums there are not edited. So he actually plays that well, which is just amazing, I think.
Well, I remember seeing him. I remember seeing him play live when they did. What was the album? I think they had just done. Was it Genesis? No, it wasn't, because I don't even think he played on Genesis. But I remember seeing A Job for a Cowboy play live. I think this was around Ruination, actually. It was like 2009, 2010. And I remember just being absolutely fucking blown away by the drummer. I was like, this is nuts. Yeah. This is like one of the most insane things I've seen in my entire life. Like, and I've seen phenomenal drummers. I've seen Pete Sandoval. I've seen Gene Hoglan. I've seen Lombardo. I've seen like the cream of the crop. And I was like, this dude is on a fucking different planet.
Yeah, he's amazing.
I'm about to say you got that dog scratching in the background.
Yeah, it didn't come now. Yeah. Well, I should mention that I have to quit the interview in 5 minutes because I have another interview in 10 minutes.
Okay, no. That's absolutely fine. I'll ask you one final question, and that is, like, just in terms of plans for the band. After the release of the record, are you guys going to be going on tour? I mean, you guys you're not a particularly hard touring band at the moment. You seem to kind of play select dates, but what are the plans after the record is released?
We will do some gigs, but most of them I don't think they are announced yet, so so we can't tell about them. But
so you could tell me, but
will not be many shows, but there will be some shows. One in Norway, and there will also be one in I think it's in Belgium. That's not so far into the future, just a couple of months. And then there will be a gig in I think it's Mexico.
Okay.
And there will be some more, but there has not been that many interesting offers either after COVID. So we'll see. Perhaps it helps with the new album. Perhaps it's more interesting offers when they have a new album, not when it's like 8 years since our last release. But we'll see.
Yeah, and I see a lot of promoters doing strange things now as well, and venues as well. Like I don't know whether you've encountered this yet, but I saw a while back there was one. I think it was the band Igor refused to sell any merch inside of I think it was the Kentish Town Forum or the Roundhouse in the UK, because they wanted 20% of their merch sales like in the venue. I feel like the venues and the promoters are chancing their arm a little bit after COVID. It's like they think the bands are desperate, so they want to see what they can get away with.
Should be. But as a band, it's always like that. I mean, all the money, it's just, we are bleeding. I mean, everybody's like grabbing the money from the bands. I guess we are not the only one who feels like that. So promoters, and I mean, it's just like, that's how it is, I guess. When you're playing on Spotify, you get, I don't know, you don't get the shit for it, basically.
Let's say you get, I think, what $0.001 per stream.
It's nothing. So.
Cool. All right, my brother. Well, I know that your dog is giving you the go signal, the go home signal, as they say in professional wrestling. And I know you need to get to your next interview, so I'll leave you be. But thank you very much for your time. I'm pretty sure people are going to absolutely love this record when it comes out, and hopefully we catch you in London at some point soon.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the interview.
Awesome. Take care, brother. Off the album Helvegr, due out for release on Season of Mist on June the 23rd. That was the second single off of that record. It's called Iron Beast, the band, of course, Tsjuder, unmistakably so. I have heard the whole thing, and I can guarantee you that it is absolutely ripping. So when it comes out, make sure that it is etched into your diaries to check it out. Thank you very much to Draugluin for his time, and I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. Not the most talkative fellow, let's be honest, but I think we got as good of a conversation out of him as we were going to get, and hopefully you guys got as much out of that as I could give you. On now to a new release that I have been very excited about, and anybody who listens to the weekly news rant, that's always at the end of the show, of course, will know that I've been ever so slightly hyped about the new Nightmare record, Deformity Adrift. My brother, not Brandon Legion, Evan Hopper of Quell, was the man who alerted me to this. I checked it out, absolutely loved it, and have since been delving into the backstory of the band. So for those not in the know, Nightmare have been active since 2013. They released their debut album, Cacophony of Terror, in 2018. And amongst their membership, they feature folks from Successful Right Apocalypse Across the Sky, Burning Skies, and more. Their ranks also include Simon Haverman, and I hope that I'm pronouncing his surname correctly. He plays guitars. He is notable for operating the rising young bucks in the extreme music scene, Total Dissonance Worship record label, and that's also the imprint under which Deformity Adrift has been delivered to us. Now, true to the label moniker, Deformity Adrift isn't shy about announcing its intent to absolutely smash your brain into a bloody pulp with the nastiest of death metal dissonance from the word go. But there is a lot more to this record than just brutal, relentless riffing, pieced together from irregular harmonies. During my news rant reaction to the first singles that they put out, I labeled these guys the North American answer to Ulcerate, and I stand by that compliment. However, as you go through the record, one of the things that you will start to discover as well is that there are shades of Blut aus Nord, Deathspell Omega, even Immolation that kind of litter the songs across the album's entirety. And it is all delivered through a production and through a mix that will make the most down-tuned deathcore nerd quiver in their shorts. I mean, it is just absolutely crushing. The performances equally are mind-blowingly good. I mean, at the end of one of my favorite songs off the record, Baptismal Tomb, you get this really cool, and I think it's fretless bass, so I might be corrected here, but it reminds me a bit of Steve DiGiorgio's work on Death's Individual Thought Patterns, but just absolutely awesome. Paul Seidel, the drummer, likewise, is just absolutely note-perfect from start to finish. He's technical, he's emotive, he's really nuanced. I cannot fault anything about his performance, but I will also say, going toe to toe with him is John Collett on the vocal mic. John's work on Successful Right Apocalypse Across the Sky, I remember when that album came out, really quite enjoying it. It's not one I've gone back to very much since, but I cannot remember him sounding this punishingly effective on that record. I mean, his vocal performance, again, is ultra aggressive, really, really well enunciated, and it kind of puts him, in my view, up there with the very best of the best operating in the scene right now. The thing is, though, as good as Paul and John, and I don't actually believe that the bassist has even been credited on, certainly not on Metal Archives, but as good as all those guys are, I think it's the riffing of Simon and of his fellow guitarist Keith Merrow that really steals the show, yeah. The album is relentlessly heavy, there's no doubt about that, but every song is also memorable, it's distinct, it's catchy, it's accessible, and it keeps you wanting to go back again and again. The only complaint that I have, and this has been a constant theme over the course of many reviews from, I would say, particularly the last 18 months or so, is the length of the album. It's only 31 minutes long. To some, that would be a good thing because it means there's no fat, and there's certainly no fat here. But it does leave you wanting, a lot more. So, from an artist's perspective, I imagine that's a good thing. You always want to leave your audience gagging for more. But, in this instance, we're really wanting a lot more than 31 minutes. That being said, hopefully they return to us very soon, because I will tell you this much. For every single minute of the 31 minutes that this record plays, there is not a nanosecond that is not absolutely, utterly, unequivocally top-notch. A song that is almost certainly worth more than just a single top-notch accolade. I don't know whether we create a tier above top-notch, beyond top-notch, but be that as it may, Baptismal Tomb is the name of that track. The band is Nightmare, and the album is Deformity Adrift. Available right now on Total Dissonance Worship. Link to their Bandcamp in the description to the podcast. Support the band. You will absolutely be seeing this album on many best-of lists in 2023. That is my prediction. I would be stunned if that is not the case. Right now, my friends, I'm going to welcome one of my fellow horsemen of the podcasting apocalypse to the show. My friend Karl Hikara of Sol Nox joins me as we jump on Metal Storm for my weekly news rant. Firstly, welcome to the podcast. I think this is your first appearance on Into the Necrosphere. I know I've been on Sol Nox, but you've not been on the show before.
No, yeah, this is the first time. First time we get on Into the Necrosphere, so thank you.
The Reverend Karl Hikara, as I've dubbed you. So the Reverend Karl Hikara, Sensei Mike Hill. We'll need to think of terms for everybody else, but
yeah, little names for everybody. Like what's Brandon's? Yeah,
yeah, Brandon. I don't know the Grand Emperor Brandon Legion. So anyway, right, let's jump straight onto it. So we're on Metal Storm as always. The first headline Deviser premiere new official video. It says here in February, Deviser put out their first record after 2011, Evil Summons Evil. Now they present a new music video for the album's closing track, When the Lights Went Out, featuring Eftimus Karamidis of Nightfall. The video was directed by Harris Kontouris.
There's definitely some Greek black metal stuff like.
Yeah, I've never really heard of Deviser before, but like I've said on this segment, Greece seems to be, there's a bit of a ground, like almost like with Finland, there's a real groundswell of great talent coming from Greece at the moment. And obviously we had Bothroch earlier this year. I've been raving about Utkana, but there's been a couple of bands that I've listened to on the news rant from Greece recently, which are like, this is some serious shit. But I have no idea what Deviser sounds like.
Me neither. I never heard this band, so let's check it out.
All right, well, let's listen. If there's one thing that our brothers in Greece absolutely love, it is a guitar harmony. I mean, there's like the dual guitar harmony is like the hallmark of many Greek bands. And I have to say, as that song was going on, I can imagine Sakis doing vocals on that, and it would sound like a Rotten Christ song, and everybody would go, "Yeah, that's pretty decent." What did you think?
Yeah, it's definitely. It definitely reminds me of old Rotten Christ in particular, like maybe, second or third album era, and
yeah, like Triarchy of the Lost Lovers, I would say.
Yeah, exactly, because you got because it's got the real melodic like lead guitar parts, which it's always funny with Greek black metal is that every Greek black metal band, be it like the classics like Verathron or Necromantia or Rotting Christ, or even like other bands like Akrontos and stuff, like they always have to put in these guitar harmonized leads.
I'm about to say that's like every single one of them. They have to have it. It's like almost like stadium rock with the guitar harmonies, and then the heavy stuff comes in. You were wrong on one thing, by the way. It's not necromantia. It's necromantia. That's how every single Greek person I've ever spoken to pronounces it. Necromantia.
Necromantia, yeah.
Which just adds to the grimness. But I'm liking this so far. Music video is pretty decent. I think the naked man trope or the naked man aesthetic seems to be running wild on metal music videos at the moment. At least, we don't have like the old guy in his boxer shorts running around on the beach, but yet we still have a guy who's crawling around nude on the floor. But anyways, right, let's get back to it.
All right.
that part's fucking cool. I like
Yeah.
the blast almost felt a little bit superfluous to me. It's cool, but I kept sitting here thinking, like, does that blast actually make sense based on what just came before? But then that melodic part that we've just gone into out of the blast, that is fucking excellent.
Yeah, I think overall I like this song a lot. Like, it definitely hearing this makes me want to go check out their first album and yeah, definitely check this out when it comes out. This album, you know.
Evil Summons Evil, which is a cool name for an album as well, I think.
Yeah. After first record since 2011. Yeah, Evil Summons Evil. Yeah, this song is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it.
The crawling like guy thing on the ground, that reminds me of did you ever play the Resident Evil 2 where you have like the liquor thing that's like crawling on the ground, and like that's what that reminds me of.
Yeah. No, I played and loved Resident Evil 2. Have you been playing, or have you played Elden Ring?
No,
I know I've spoken about it a lot on the podcast. Have you played it at all?
No, I still need to get a newer console. I'm still back in the 2000s. I have a PS2. But yeah, I remember you saying it was good one.
Dude, I know Mike spoke on his podcast about getting investing in a games console, and I made the joke and said, buy a PS5, get Elden Ring, and then tell the band you won't be seeing them for the next 6 months. It's dude, I mean, I'm generally speaking, my day to day at the moment, especially, I'm like run off my feet busy, but I do still try and make it about an hour a day to play that. It is so fucking cool. I genuinely think it's the best game I've ever played in my life. I can't remember when last I've been this completely addicted to something. It's so fucking difficult. There's moments where the profanity levels that come from this living room when I'm playing that game is on it's on the next level. It's like I'm surprised the paint isn't peeling from the walls, but it's yeah, it's very, very cool.
Yeah, it's because this one's a Dark Souls game, so it's like I play like Dark Souls 2, and like as me and my ex at the time, we were trying to play it, and we couldn't get past the first boss. Like, we spent like 4 hours, and we just finally gave up. We're like, I'm good with this.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm at one boss now where it's literally like one shot kill. You know, every single time he touches you, and I've so many times I've come so close, like a fucking scrotum hair away from from getting, taking him down, and then something always happens. It's like, God fucking damn it.
Let's check out this Olkoth.
All right, yeah. So
Olkoth,
to eat of the lotus, track Unleashed. It says here, to eat of the lotus is the name of the final advance single from Olkoth's forthcoming debut album, At the Eye of Chaos, and is now available for streaming via YouTube Down Under. I like the logo.
Yeah, that's what caught my eye. Yeah, because it kind of has the Necronomicon sigil. So I'm like, I wonder if this is gonna be like a Morbid Angel tribute band kind of. Well, I guess we'll see.
Well, we may soon need more of those. I mean, I haven't heard anything more about Trey. I hope he's in a, I hope he's well. I thought Alan Averill did a really, really good, honest, respectful analysis of that. Like when he was talking about, when is it too old to rock and roll? That was kind of the theme of that episode. I think he did a really good job with that. But what was interesting though is he mentioned it seemed to him from the experience he'd had that it's that there's opioids involved there. So I genuinely hope that dude gets, if he needs to get help, I hope he gets help very soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's nothing too serious. Like I know from what it sounds like, he was like also perhaps like dehydrated and stuff. So yeah.
Back where I grew up, they would have just said it's because he's satanic. Demons caused him to do that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if I ever told you, if I mentioned this on the podcast before, but there was a teacher in our school when I was in the 11th grade who, with a straight face, told the class that if you listen to bands like AC/DC, you can see demons flying. If you're at the appropriate level of Christianity, you can see demons flying out of the speakers, and then you can see angels battling them while the music plays.
Are you serious?
That's the kind of fucking crackpot shit that I grew up around. Right? So I like when people talk about like extremism. Like you must remember, I grew up in the last gasp of apartheid, and I grew up around a bunch of religious nutcases. I've seen it all. So anyway, right. I'll shut the fuck up. Let's get on with let's get on and listen to this Olkoth track.
The cover is cool.
Yeah, I like the cover very much. So far so good. I think that opening riff is fucking excellent. Really moody, dark. I just had a quick gander at Metal Archive while this was playing. This is a brand new band. They're from South Carolina. They've put out two demos so far, and this is their first full length. But
cool.
Yeah, so far, I mean, again, vocals can make or break it, but so far this is sounding fucking cool to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And they're coming down from Brandon's neck of the woods, so the South Carolina. The so far I like the intro is real moody, and then it's getting into this part. Like we'll see how the vocals are and where it goes, and that'll be the final judge.
Yeah. Fuck me. That is fucking brilliant. Yeah, absolutely really brilliant. I mean, I would say that's worth a top notch without a shadow of a doubt. It's fucking crazy to me how good some of the death metal is that's coming out this year. Like on this episode, I'll have had the Nightmare review. That album is nuts. There's been so much good death metal that's come out the last in the last couple of months. I mean, it's for a while now. I feel like that genre has been back on the up. I mean, there was a period of time when it just it wasn't quite as exciting as it is now. But I mean, I feel like we're in a golden age at the moment because this is genius. Nightmare is awesome. I've heard the whole new Cattle Decapitation, which, by the way, spoiler alert, is definitely going to win the award for the best record ever with the fucking shittiest cover of all time. But what an album! I mean, I think I would be surprised if that's not like number one, Decibel's favorite album of 2023. That I think it will be high up on most lists of anything, anyone with any degree of influence. I'm trying to think what else. There's a new Werewolves coming out. I may have caught a whiff of it. It's fucking excellent. So yeah, sorry, you were going to say?
I was like, was that Angarot or whatever, that one band?
Oh, fuck yes. Yeah, Angarot as well. Was good.
And then Anarchon.
Yes, so, yeah.
There's been a lot of really good death metal so far this year.
The thing that's cool about it, though, is death metal just seems to have it seems to have broken away from the typical, paint by numbers bullshit riffing. I mean, sometimes we still listen to songs on this news rant where you can hear that, you know, the dun 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 riffing. It's just awful to me. It's like it's awful to the point of being unacceptable in this day and age that someone is still signed writing that crap. But like, there's a big black metal influence that's gone into a lot of these bands, and it's better for it. It just sounds fucking sensational. This guy, and we were saying the guy's vocals were going to make or break this. His vocals are ripping. I mean, he sounds like someone owes him money. So he sounds like he caught his wife in bed with another guy.
He's got that David Vincent, Steve Tucker type of vibe going on vocals.
Yeah,
yeah, that's great. Like, I'm not, obviously I just did that top 40 death metal with Dave, the Duke of Metal, as you call him. Yeah. And like, from anybody who could see that list knows that my favorite types of death metal are either the satanic evil stuff or the like this, or the kind of like just real like grimy stuff like Grave and things like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So this is definitely right up my alley.
Let's give it another 60 seconds.
Okay.
You know what, Ben? I was just thinking we need to add to that list too. I don't know whether you saw last week's news rant, but Church of the Dead.
Yeah.
That is also fucking brilliant. But again, the reason I thought about them is listening to the song. There's no fat here. There's like nothing unnecessary. Like when it's fast, it feels like it's meant to be fast. When it's mid tempo, it feels like it's meant to. Like everything feels like it's in the right place. It's like there's like a natural ebb and flow to how the song goes, and then. Dude, that guy's vocals is just fucking awesome. Like, the phrasing, the enunciation, the rhythm that he has in his voice. I can't believe this is a new band. I mean, these guys really, really sound cool. Another thing I thought about, and I'll be keen to get your take on this. I said it way back when the record came out. Ulcerate's Stare Into Death and Be Still. When it came out, I said on this podcast that record had set like a benchmark for death metal. It was like going to be a real turning point for death metal. I felt, and it was like, is going to wake up a lot of other bands. And I might be wrong, but I kind of feel like I see that happening, because when I hear a band like this, I can definitely hear a slight whiff of Ulcerate in their music, but in like the best possible way. They're taking that caliber of songwriting, or at least that approach to songwriting, and they're incorporating that into their own sound.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they got, this band has a little bit of that, like combined with the kind of, definitely that kind of Morbid Angel groove, you know what I mean? And it's not quite as like dissonant as say Ulcerate, but it's definitely very high quality of songwriting. Like, I mean, this band is great. I wonder if these guys I wonder how old they are. Like if they're like, guys in their 20s, or if they've been in other bands, it's hard to tell from that picture, but.
So they have been in a couple of other bands, actually. So the guitarist vocalist, he's been in Doomsday Revival, Imperium, and Hideous Divinity. Well, he's actually in Hideous Divinity.
I don't know.
And then we also have the guitarist is from Rafume's Well, Virulent Excision, and then the bassist is from Enthean.
I think this band is going to be the one. I mean, I'd like to see. I think that this could really get a lot of attention for. Hopefully, I hope this album gets a lot of attention, because this is really good.
Oh yes, yeah. No, I think these guys I may reach out to and see if they want to come on the podcast as well. I just looked now. So Zach, the vocalist, he's 34 years old. So they're
like
not
a little bit younger
young bloods. Yeah,
yeah.
Which probably explains why their music is good.
Yeah, well, I doubt it. They've had some time to like refine the shit. So like definitely like I think when you're writing music in your 30s, you, in my opinion, hopefully you've learned that from your previous things and you like can write songs better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you also have, I think, a you've got a more developed palette. Plus, though, clearly these guys have kind of grown up listening to the same music that you and I did. So they have a good pedigree as well. I remember reading like way back. I've never been a fan of the band, but I remember reading way back an interview with somebody from Suicide Silence. And this was when they just started. So I mean, I think it's the guitarist does that podcast, which is it's a decent podcast. But anyway, I remember reading an interview with them, and they were being asked about like old school death metal bands, and they were literally saying in the interview, "I don't know who they are." I thought to myself, how can you even make this music if you don't know some of those bands?
Because they probably only heard "Bring Me the Horizon" or something.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, all right. Darkestra, seventh album announced. It says here after
they're a good band. I was gonna say they're a pretty good band.
I don't know them at all, and I see they're from Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah.
So fun fact: my aunt and uncle lived in Kyrgyzstan for the better part of about 10 years. So they were Christian missionaries in Kyrgyzstan.
Oh, okay.
So again, you start to see some of the things that some of the things I've witnessed in my day. But anyways, it says here after 7 years, Kyrgyzstan's black metal bringers Darkestra are back with their next seventh studio record entitled Nomad. It will be released in the near future by French label Osmos Productions. The band expressed their enormous gratitude to Andy Schmidt of Echolux Studios for his flawless work on this upcoming music output. Very nice album cover, like really nice album cover, I would say.
Yeah, their music is basically inspired by the history of that era, like a lot of their stuff's based on like the old like nomadic like the Scythians and like the Mongolian the Huns, like and the history of their land culture and stuff. So
yeah. Well, they don't have a song on there, so I'm gonna see if we can find one on YouTube because I'm keen to hear it. Whenever I go on YouTube, though, I always think to myself, everyone can see what I spend most of my time watching, which is food videos, car videos, politics, and that's about it. Video games too. Much of it now Elden Ring orientated. But anyways, all right. What one would you suggest I try out here? Chong Arik?
See, that's a full album. Let's see. I haven't listened to them in a while, so I guess let's
take this track, Black Cathedral. That sounds
promising.
Sounds reasonable, right? We'll give that a quick spin.
Yeah, I haven't really heard Darkestra since I don't know, probably about 10 years.
Literally, that first second sounded cool. So, okay. Right, let's give it a listen. That's very good. that's like that riff has got serious like Burzum vibes to it, but again in the best possible way. The drummer is the drumming, I would say. I mean, the drummer he sounds competent, but the drumming is cool. Like I like that vibe, that rhythm. Is that a woman that's doing their vocals for them?
I'm not sure, actually. It's a good question.
It looked on the picture, or on one of the thumbnails, it looked like they had a woman doing their vocals. I mean, either way, it's whoever's doing it is doing a fucking brilliant job.
It might be. Yeah,
I thought it
actually.
might be this young lady over here.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about that, but it might be. Yeah, but yeah, they got a cool vibe, like kind of meld, like kind of that kind of old school, 90s black metal vibe with, and they do have like keyboards and stuff on it, and they use like traditional music from their area and stuff like that as well. So
Well, I'm definitely going to have to check this out. I have this just as a side note. I have in the last, I'd say, particularly the last kind of 6 7 years, I've really turned a corner. I think when it comes to women in especially black metal. Like I always used to be like, just as far as vocalists were concerned, it wasn't that I wanted to be a gatekeeper and say keep them out, it's bad for the scene. But it was like I just my preference didn't necessarily sit with female vocalists screaming. Like, singing, is a different story. But like I always felt they didn't necessarily hold a candle to their male peers. But I have to say, between Chelsea Murphy, this woman, I had a band recently that I listened to as well that I played on the podcast. The name escapes me now, but also with a woman on vocals, phenomenal, like just absolutely sensational.
well, you got Holder as well from Portland, who's like current, like it's a one woman black metal band that's really great, or Asagram, or which is another all woman black metal band from Netherlands, which is really good. You'd like them, like, because they use a lot of dissonance and stuff. Like Asagram is definitely in your wheelhouse, or
Yeah.
older bands like Dark and Nocturnal Slaughter Cult, or Taima. Like, so yeah, there are bands out there with female singers that sound sick, So
Yeah. But I mean, like again, this woman sounds fantastic. There's nothing. She's not giving up a shred in terms of like power and aggression and things like that. She sounds awesome.
yeah, you got some women who can pull it off, like the yeah, it's like there's not a lot, but there are some good ones out there,
Yeah. No, as I said, I'm liking that very much. So Darkestra, I will definitely look into in a whole lot more detail very soon.
Yeah, hopefully there'll be a single for that new album, and we can see how that sounds
Uh,
like.
Anthrax in studio working on new music.
Don't care.
Yeah. If they announced that John Bush was coming back, I'd be a bit more excited. But I mean, I would also go as far as to say, even though I like John Bush, the album of theirs besides Sound of White Noise that gets the most love is We've Come for You All, and I've always thought that album is terrible.
Yeah,
I didn't like it at all.
I'm not a real big Anthrax fan. Like, really, not really even a big fan. I mean, so yeah, like,
Are you a fan of like old thrash, like 80s thrash?
yeah, I like 80s thrash. I just don't really like Anthrax. Like my thing with, I love 80s thrash, but yeah, I like, I like the more Slayer side of things, like, or
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. Like, I like the stuff when I kind of liked how, like, the older bands, when they'd release like their more evil satanic stuff, or maybe like Korn, or different bands like that. But like something like Anthrax didn't really do it for me. Like uh, but like Exodus is great, or Testament and is great. But although I will say that I still went to the final tour of Slayer, a few years back,
Yeah.
and I think there was both Testament and Anthrax were playing. I think we got there right when Testament was playing, and I would say that neither Testament nor Anthrax were exactly the most exciting band to see live at that show.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, so
How come?
uh,
Just like lack of energy on stage?
I don't know, just like, well, yeah, like with Anthrax, I don't know, it's just like it just didn't really pop out. Like, like with some bands, like even if you don't really like the band, like the performance can like jump out at you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the Lamb of God played, and they had a lot more, like, where I felt like more intensity. You know what I mean? Like, than say Anthrax was. Anthrax, it sounded like they went up and they did their songs, and that was it. But I don't know. I mean, I know there's a
Yeah.
lot of big Anthrax fans and whatever. So, but I'm just not into them.
Sorry, I just had somebody cut into my headphones calling. But sorry, you were saying about had a lot of big Anthrax fans.
Well, no, I know there's a lot of people out there who are big Anthrax fans, so but I'm just not. I'm not one of them.
Yeah, I really like Among the Living because it was a record that I got at it was a very influential album when it came out for me. And I really, really liked Sound of White Noise, and I'll always like that record. I think it's very good. Again, it's because of the age I was at when I heard it for the first time. But I kind of after that fell out of love with the band. I saw them live with John Bush, and I was really surprised by it. Like I'd actually planned to leave after I had a chance to interview John Bush. Figured let me do that, but I'm not going to bother watching the show. I'm just going to leave after that. So I did the interview, and then I figured let me stay and at least see one or two songs, and I loved it. I thought it was great. Saw them the next year, loved them again. Then Belladonna returned. I actually thought, okay, this will still be quite cool. I had invited a bunch of people to come out with me, saying like, this is going to be brilliant. They're one of the most fun live bands I'd seen for ages. You guys are going to love this. Non-metal folk. And fucking Poodlehair Belladonna came on stage, and within 2 songs, I was like, "Fuck this! I'll give you guys your money back for the tickets. I'm leaving. I'm not watching this rubbish anymore."
When did Belladonna come back?
2006, I think.
Okay, yeah. So
2006.
Definitely, yeah. So I'm kind of with you. Like what I have heard, like I like the John Bush stuff more. Like with I just don't like the Belladonna's vocals. That's a big part of why I don't like Anthrax. Is I find his vocals very annoying.
I find his vocals bad, and I think live, I think he's a joke, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know the bloke personally. I don't mean to be unnecessarily harsh here, but I think he's a fucking joke on stage. He's like standing on stage, like with this weird grin, doing these like really like fucking Uncle Joey type moves. You know what I mean? It's like your 60-year-old your 60-year-old uncle has had a few too many beers and he's trying to sing in the bar or some shit. There's just something about him I honestly find quite embarrassing when I see him play live, and like to such a degree that it puts me off watching them live altogether.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's just something like they were playing because they were going on right before Slayer, that show. I just was like, this is too goofy, and just like it's not for me.
Yeah, I agree with you on Lamb of God as well. Live, they're very, very good. I mean, I like the band. I love Lamb of God musically, all the way up to the previous record before the one that just came out. The one that just came out, I think, is so shit it's unlistenable. I might one day go back to it and hear it and say, actually, I was wrong about it, but I don't think so. Because again, it's something that I expected to like. I was looking forward to it when I heard it announced. But it's absolutely terrible. It's literally a band that doesn't want to make this kind of music anymore. That's been forced to produce a record that just lacks any kind of conviction. That it sounds inauthentic. It sounds like we keep kind of falling back to this. What is the accusation? But this insult, basically. It sounds like AI did a Lamb of God record. That's exactly what it sounds like to me.
I think the problem with Lamb of God is a band that I'm not like super familiar with, but one of my best friends is like really is into them. So like, so I've heard it a lot more, like because he listens to them a lot, and so it's like what I've come to realize is that, in particular, because I saw them open for Lamb of God with their old drummer, and then saw them again with my friend with the new drummer, and I think the big difference is the drummer. Like I can't remember the guy's name, the old drummer, but I think he brought Chris Adler. Yeah, I think he brought an intensity to his drumming that elevated the whole thing. You know what I mean? That I don't think the new drummer. I mean, he's like a competent drummer, but it almost feels like he's on. Like he's like restraining himself in some way, you know what I mean? It's kind of like the intensity level just dropped a couple notches,
I agree with you, and I think Chris had a quite a distinct style of drumming as well. Like I've always loved that about certain drummers. Like Vinnie Paul is, to me, one of the best, but he's one of the best, not because he was particularly technical, but it's because, and he was technical, but not because of his technicality or anything like that. It's because when I listen to a Pantera song, or I listen to any song that he's on, I can hear it's him drumming immediately. That to me is the mark of a great drummer. I'd say Art Cruz is a very competent drummer, but he's also very nondescript in his style. He could be basically anybody with a drum kit from hell, computer plugin. Whereas Chris Adler has a real natural sense of groove. It comes out in the way that he plays. Bizarrely, though, this band that he's in now, Firstborn, is,
oh god,
talk about embarrassment. I mean, you may as well be listening to Striper. It's that shit.
It's that I remember you played some of that on the podcast, and I was like, "This is some of the worst music I think I've ever heard."
Bro, it's so bad. It's so shockingly bad. Anyways, right. So the woke part of Twitter, get ready to start clutching your pearls. Get ready to start clutching your fucking Dawn Raid t-shirts, because Talker is making new music. It says here last year Talker's mastermind host once again entered Conclave Studio with producer Bornar Nilsson, and the recording of nearly 20 tracks commenced. The first results from these sessions will be released as the Et Hav of Stunt album this autumn. It will be released by Dark Essence Records in cooperation with Swartekens Productioner. More info in due time. So I don't think they've got a new song out, but anyway,
no
new Talker music incoming. I like their music,
we go.
so I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, hopefully it's a good album. Hopefully there's no banjo on it.
yeah, banjo.
I hate that shit.
I'm not so keen on, but. Yeah, they're generally speaking. I'm trying to think. Has there ever been a Talker album that I've really thought was shit? I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, especially like the 2000. I can't remember what that 2011 album was, but that was genius.
Yeah, they're they never released a bad album.
No,
like, and the controversy about them is so fucking stupid that I just can't even stand it.
Yeah,
you do one dumb thing like once and you're getting banned forever, or you deign to write lyrics against Islam and now you're being attacked. It's idiotic.
Yeah, and it's just it's that selective outrage, right? We've spoken about it on the show before. It's selective outrage. There are people that can do horrible shit, and for some reason, no one bats an eyelid. It gets completely forgiven, but somebody else does something that you don't like, and then the mob descends on them. It's like the way that they carry on with, guy gets involved in a domestic violence dispute, and he's cancelled forevermore. And I mean, I'm not even against that from a moral perspective. I think a guy who raises his hands to his kids or to his wife or something like that is scum of the earth, as far as I'm concerned. They should toss that person into the middle of the ocean. But don't be selectively outraged about certain things, but then in the same breath you're praising people found guilty or involved in exactly the same shit. Yeah. So it's just I just think it's ridiculous. And again, as you say, with him, Sepultura wore swastika t-shirts in the 80s. They did it. I mean, they apologized for it. They said, we did it to be provocative, but you don't think that the host did that to be provocative?
Yeah, of course. That's the only reason he did it to be provocative.
Exactly.
Like it's generally when bands do that kind of stuff, unless they're up there fucking hailing Hitler and talking about white pride and stuff, I don't. It's one of those things where I have a very strict line. It's like, if your music, and I don't care what people's politics are, if your music doesn't have politics in it, then you can't be attacking them for a political reason. You know what I mean? In my opinion, it's very. And
yeah, I agree. I think if you're not politically outspoken and your music isn't, your lyrics aren't overtly political, if you're not Screwdriver, then honestly, I don't really give a shit what your personal views are. So and I think it's absurd to attack bands over things that they did years and years and years ago. I mean, this was at a time when black metal was going all out to be as incendiary and provocative as possible. Witness the Gorgoroth live shows at the time. Crucified men, women, flanking them on stage. I mean, everything they were trying to kind of bring the shock back into black metal. And some of it was a bit misguided, but it happened. It's behind them. It's behind all of us. It's not happened since. I don't get what the fucking constant haranguing has to be about when it comes to the band.
Yeah, I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. And I also noticed that these people always go after bands like Take or Aklis or something or Funeral Mist or something where they can. There's like a little sliver of something that they don't like, so they just keep going. It's like they have this like fixation, which is why it's the same thing as like a witch hunt. It's like they have this fixation on essentially like unearthing the hidden Nazi or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's weird because if you're just a full-on Nazi, they're not going to bother you as much as if you're a fucking. They have this like weird suspicion of you being a Nazi. You know what I mean? Like it's not. Yeah. It's like so fucking like ridiculous. I just.
Well, it's an orthodoxy. I mentioned before that teacher that used to tell us about AC/DC, resulting in an angel demon throwdown. Wherever you play their music, it's the same mindset that drives this. It's the same mindset that drives gender ideology as well. I think it's very dangerous that this orthodoxy has crept into the public consciousness and gotten to a point where you're not allowed to even have an honest conversation about it anymore. Because if you dare have an honest conversation, you are in their mind no longer what they call it an ally, but really what they should call it is a devotee. And if you're no longer a devotee, then all bets are off. It's fine to ruin your life. It's fine to ruin your professional reputation. It's fine to destroy your band if you're in one. And it's fine to hurl whatever insults, threats, etc. they deem necessary to throw at you. That's not right. That's not healthy for a healthy society.
My favorite thing, which I think is probably one of the most like enraging things that they do sometimes, is if a woman dares to contradict, to say something like not agree with them, and you have these people who are supposed like feminists and whatever, but if a woman dares to not agree with them, all of a sudden, I hope you get raped and all this stuff. You know, like if you're telling a woman that they hope they get raped and all this bullshit, you are not on the right side. You are evil. You know what I mean? Like there's no way about it. Like you're not making any cases for your shit.
I was about to say, I think we can talk about it more in a bit. We'll listen to some of Ulst in a second, but just as a bookend to that point, I don't think you can call yourself a defender of tolerance, love, or anything like that if your go-to is to tell a woman who disagreed with you that you hope that she got raped. And I do believe if there is genuine evil in this world, I believe those people are genuinely evil. Yeah. Anyway, right. Let's check out this one. So, Avulsed, new standalone single revealed. Death Metal Maniacs Avulsed have put out an animated lyric video for their new standalone single named Intergalactic Gore Wars. It's the band's second new music piece in the past 8 years. I remember hearing these guys years ago, but I haven't really paid much attention to them since. They've never been a band that's been high up on my radar. Either way, let's give this a quick spin.
All right, let's see. Extreme.
That's not bad. It is kind of trite in the nicest possible way, especially after we heard that other band. It's like we said before, the bar in death metal was raising to such a point that you listen to a band like this and you go, well, what place is there really for them in the genre right now? People have X amount of time that they can listen to music. Realistically, how many people are going to, move the new Cattle Decapitation to one side and we'll move the new Anarchon to one side to say I want to rock out to the new Avulsed record, but it's not bad. And that's like, it's almost, when I say that, it's not to be horrible. It's more as a comment about what the quality, the median quality is of what's coming out right now. And the fact that maybe 10, 15 years ago, you would have heard this and gone, fuck, this is brilliant. Now you listen to it and you go, it's not bad, but am I going to ever really feel compelled to listen to it versus any of the other myriad things that are coming out that's excellent? That's my take on it.
Yeah, no, it's not bad. It's just not really like setting the world on fire or nothing, And I mean, Intergalactic Gore Wars is just it's silly. Like, I can't, this is not something you can take seriously. Obviously, I don't think the band's taking themselves very seriously either, So
no. Yeah, there's okay. That's the other thing. I don't mind people that don't take themselves seriously, but I when I think about music that I gravitate towards more, it is definitely music that is like I want to feel convinced by what I'm hearing. You mentioned Funeral Mist. There's no denying when you put on a Funeral Mist song, when you put on a Funeral Mist record. I mean, it feels like the darkness is seeping from Mortis's pores when he's, with every single note that he plays or that he sings on that record. And that I enjoy that more. It's kind of like horror. I don't like horror comedy for that very reason. I think that. I think death is something that's serious, or at least I take it seriously. And so I think if anyone doesn't take it seriously in a movie, it just doesn't appeal to me. Like, if I want to see comedy, I'll watch Dave Chappelle. If I want to listen to something jokey, I'll listen to Guar. If I want to hear something serious or see something serious, or like generally speaking, when I want to listen to black metal, I want to hear something serious, or when I want to watch horror, I want to see something that has like a degree of emotional weight behind it, like Hereditary or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, with horror, like, I'm okay with watching stuff that maybe I don't, like, I don't know, like Friday the 13th or something where, yeah, you're not taking that seriously because it's pretty goofy, but on one level, but I'm not like, what's the word? I prefer the stuff that's more serious, even when it's kind of goofy in a way. Like, I kind of like it when the people doing it are kind of taking themselves seriously, like even like when it doesn't quite come off right, I think it can be all right. But yeah, generally when it comes to like straight up horror comedies, there's not very many that I particularly like. Like, I'll give an example. Like, for example, like with Evil Dead, I love the original movie. And as they get more and more campy or like goofy, like I kind of like them less. Like I liked the original. Evil Dead 2's okay. It kind of like is more like insane, which kind of makes the dark kind of comedy like work in a way. But when you get to Army of Darkness, it's just like real goofy. Like, that's not horror anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I don't consider like something like Army of Darkness horror.
No, I agree.
Like,
I would strongly agree with you on that. Speaking of horror, I know we had this exchange on the Facebook Messenger group. The Pope's Exorcist. I know Ralph liked it. I thought Russell Crowe's acting was good, but have you actually had a chance to watch it?
Not yet. Yeah, and it's one of those ones where I wouldn't go in expecting very much. Like,
No.
like
I wasn't expecting much either. But I only made it 23 minutes in, and then I switched it off when I switched on The Exorcist. I said to Paige, like, if I'm gonna spend my time watching a movie about exorcism, there's really no other movie that I'm interested in seeing other than The Exorcist. It's like again, limited time. What do I invest my time in? Exorcist 3 is different because it's not a straight exorcism movie. It's just a complete masterpiece, as you and I have discussed. But it's I would there were things on it that were so hokey, and there's one bit where they also take the kid for CAT scans and stuff like that. You can see they're riffing off of The Exorcist in a way that made it even worse to me, because it was like, why am I watching something that looks like a fucking carbon copy, like a bad copy of The Exorcist?
Right. Well, and Malachi Martin, the guy that's based off of, I remember reading his book about exorcism and possession and stuff, like back when I was a kid. I think even I remember my mom got it for me, like, so yeah, but yeah, I don't know. That was one of those movies where I saw the trailer and stuff, and I was like, it just doesn't look good enough to go see it in the theaters, but maybe I'll check it out. So I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a shot, but it's not really like high up on my list of priorities. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what you think. I tell you what I started watching on Netflix. It's not bad. Is Copycat Killer. It's a Asian show. Like, I was looking for something after Squid Game, and I couldn't bear to watch any of the other crap that's new, that's from the States. So started watching Copycat Killer, and it's pretty decent. It's not nearly on a par with Squid Game, but it's not bad.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Speaking of comedy, Glory Hammer have dropped a music video for their new song. It's called Holy Flaming Hammer of Unholy Cosmic Frost.
Oh my God.
I'm going to inflict this on you just because I know it's going to be funny. So I will say, like, all of the guys from Glory Hammer, no one's going to be able to convince me that these guys did not get their heads put down the toilet and the toilet flushed at least on a 3 to 4 times a week basis at school. I don't think they ever had their lunch money come lunch break. I mean, it's really like if there were a genre for Glory Hammer, it would be nerdcore. Our nerdcore.
Nerd metal.
It's extraordinary. It's unbelievably bad. And then obviously you know the background of these guys as well. Like, I mean, they actually said like legit racist things and like legit misogynistic stuff. Just they just come across as such fucking weasels.
Are they like a for real band, or are they like?
Yeah, like, no, they're for real.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
I thought this was like a joke band.
They sound like a joke, but anyway, let's hear the second single. And like I said, I know this is going to be awful. I just want to hear it because it's going to be funny. So let's hit it.
All right. How is this on Napalm?
No idea.
What the fuck?
Honestly, the only kind of people I could see liking this are grown men that do things like spend their money on Legend of Zelda lunchboxes and brag to their friends about it and say that it's cool. But
this is awful. And he's talking about unicorns too. Like, how can this not be? This gotta be like, I mean, it feels like a parody. You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe this is like...
It's like a parody of a parody. Shit. I mean, it's like it's like somebody watched Spinal Tap, took it seriously, and said, this is a really hard hitting documentary, but let's bring some levity to it.
I can't stand that kind of shit.
No, it's abysmal. All right,
I can go for about 10, 15 more minutes. So if I have to head to work.
Then you have to bounce.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what we've got. There's 2 critical things we actually need to listen to. So let's listen to those 2 as like the bare minimum. The first one, Black Braid have put out a new single. And we know Black Braid is now represented by my friend Katie Irizarry. So when he put out that first record, there was actually a chance that I could have gotten him on the podcast, but for whatever reason, it didn't happen. So I'm going to potentially revisit that because I like that album very much. But it says here, Indigenous black metal solo project Black Braid unveiled the first single from upcoming second studio album Black Braid 2, entitled Moss-Covered Bones on the Altar of the Moon. This 14-minute long music piece is available for streaming with accompanying lyric video via Black Metal Promotion YouTube channel. Your thoughts on that first Black Braid record?
I never listened to it, to be honest. So
really,
yeah.
No, it was pretty good. It didn't make my top 30, but I liked it. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I mean, I just never didn't listen to it. Like, kind of like intrigued by this kind of what do you call it? Influx of Native American black metal. I think it's kind of a cool idea. Like, there's that Pan American. I forget what that band's called. There's a few like cool like Native American black metal bands, but yeah, Black Braid I did not check out. I guess yeah, they had that. I wasn't sure if they were like. It almost felt like the problem with this Native American thing is that sometimes maybe it could come off as like a gimmick as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like there's a lot. So I wasn't sure with this band if they were just a gimmick band or not. So. Yeah, I just didn't really get around to checking it out. So
I had a take on, I think, Black Braid in particular there. I feel like a lot of the woke music journalists in, writing for Metal Sucks and shit publications like that, I feel like they were very keen to try and angle a narrative around it that suited whatever cockeyed ideas they wanted to inflict upon us. I know from speaking with Katie that this dude was not interested in any of that. I mean, he just literally happens to be a Native American making black metal. Like, I don't think he was even initially keen to talk about that. So,
cool.
Yeah, I think that to me does kind of put it into perspective a little bit. And when you hear the music, it's not like, I mean, I'd say Exuvia by Ruins of Everest probably sounds more overtly Native American than Black Braid. Anyways, right. Let's give this.
Let's check it out.
I quite like that riff. I think the positives. I like the mix. I think the production sounds very cool. The way it's sounding on my cans, I think it sounds great. I like the riff. My only gripe with it is I feel like I've heard that riff somewhere before. I can't put my finger on it. I'm too old to have that laser sharp focused memory that I'm going to be able to tell you exactly where I've come across it previously. But it definitely feels to me like something I've heard before.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has like has that feeling of bands that have come before, like any kind of like naturey band, like this is like you're walking in the woods type of riff, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I mean, but that happens. I mean, it's not like it's not a deal breaker,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, uh, I do think that with the whole Native American black metal thing, I think it's a cool idea because if you think about like Native American music, like it could really translate into black metal really cool. Like if he's like legit and it's like where he's coming from, like spiritually and everything, I think it could be real interesting. But yeah,
I agree.
This riff's not a bad. It's a good start. It's not. I guess it depends on where it goes. Is kind of where I'm on the fence. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm kind of the same place you are. It's definitely not in top-notch territory yet, but it's not bad. So because of how long the song is, I've jumped ahead to 7 minutes 9 seconds, because I want to hear what the vocals sound like, and I kind of want to hear where the song actually is going to. So we'll take it from there. Yeah, pretty decent. I feel like I need to probably listen to the whole song to give it to give it a more accurate, or to give a more accurate verdict.
Yeah, I'll be honest, like I'm not really super into the kind of like melodic-y, like folky type of stuff like much anymore. I used to like it a lot more, but kind of got played out with it. It's kind of one of those funny things. Like I can go listen to something that's like, I don't know. I kind of prefer to like more evil stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like
I'm the same way. I don't like the melodic stuff and the folky stuff. It has to be something really extraordinary to get me interested, because most of the time I just think it sounds weak. There's nothing bad about it. It just sounds weak. I wouldn't say that sounded weak, but it's not. I don't feel the same. Like, you saw how excited we got with some of the stuff earlier that we were listening to. I don't feel the same level of excitement hearing that.
No, I feel like it's the kind of thing that I could see some people who are really into that type of vibe, like really liking it a lot. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe if I was in a certain type of mood, I'd like it a lot. But it's not really one of those things that really like speaks to me, like where I'm like, oh yeah, I love this. Like it's something that maybe if I'm in the right mood and it's like I might dig it more. But yeah, I'm just like I'm real over like the na 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 na, those types of like or like the dissection riffs and stuff like that. And just like
yeah,
I can't deal with it anymore.
No. The thing is, it depends again on why you listen to the music, right? Like I've said many times before, for me, it's empowerment, right? I want to feel like a sense of personal, spiritual empowerment when I'm listening to this kind of music, and I don't feel it from stuff like that. Like I feel it from Effie Altus, a track like that, like that build up, and that it's like literally like black tar running through your veins when you listen to the song. And I'm not getting it from that, and I just generally don't get it from that style of black metal.
No, not at all.
All right, now speaking of empowerment, only a poser would not find this man's work empowering. Rune Eriksson, aka Blasphemer. RUIM is his new project. It says here, following the announcement of the debut album Black Royal Spiritism, black metal unit RUIM, or RUIM, I don't know, unveiled the first official single called The Triumph of Night and Fire. The accompanying lyric video was created by Matthew Vickerstaff. Mastermind Rune Eriksson elaborates. The song represents some sort of nexus, a binding energy, or a red line that runs through the album thematically, not only from a lyrical point of view with its spiritual battle cry of sorts, but also from a musical standpoint. The cleaner, eerie passages mixed with the chaos-like elements, vivid time changes, and brute power, all serve as junctions to the dedication and passion. Let's give it a go.
That's more
that,
like
my friend, is fucking genius. That is absolute genius. I have heard the song, so again, in full transparency, there was not going to be a new Blasphemer song coming out that I wasn't going to listen to immediately. So everything else was on the spot reactions, but not this. But I knew this was fucking brilliant. So, but I wanted to make sure we have it on the segment. I
remember you sent that a few days ago. Like, this shit is really, really good.
That shit is the truth, yo. It's fucking. It's just every single thing is just perfect. I mean, you can hear it's a mastermind of the genre that is at work. He just understands black metal like very few others, and he just does everything that he does is perfect. Everything on that song is perfect. There's not a single thing on this song that's not, that doesn't kind of give me that feeling that I was talking about earlier.
No, yeah, this is like the fucking exactly, yeah. It's exactly what you want to hear when it comes to this kind of black metal. Like, it's like has that real dark feeling. It's evil. This is pretty raw too. Like, that's one thing I like, is that it has this kind of raw feeling. Like, the drums don't sound like processed to death. Like, they sound like raw drums. Like, the whole vibe just feels like it's just like breathing evil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I like. Like, that's kind of the vibe that speaks to me most. Like, something like this. So I'm like really excited for this album. Like, I think this would be sick.
Yeah, no, likewise. I don't know how you felt about Ordo at KO, which was the last Mayhem record that he featured on, but I've always thought that's always been one of my favorite Mayhem albums. It's one that it really, to me, like it's a difficult listen. You have to give it time to grow on you, but good God, when it does, when it's kind of sunk in properly, fucking hell, it's a good album. It is just it's astoundingly good.
That album is like you're like submerged in just like chaos. You know what I mean? Like, it's very, very good album. And I remember when it came out, I was really, really excited because it was Attila rejoining, and I was like, hell yeah, Attila's rejoining Mayhem, and he got it. And it was just, and I think it was around the same time that not long after, like, Foss by Deathspell Mega came out and stuff, and there was this, it was like kind of in this vein of like, okay, here's all this like really challenging type of music that's coming out of black metal, like kind of drifting more into death metal territory in a way. But the other thing with Ordo at KO2 is just like, again, it's just this raw, like, production that feels like volcanic lava or something, like and but I really like this one. This kind of also reminds me a little bit of maybe knitting or something as well, a little bit, you know.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair comparison. I was going to say it reminds me a little bit of Chimera. The Mayhem album. Nadinger, by the way, also fucking amazing. I wish that Telok would put out another Nadinger record. I mean, that to me, like that last Nadinger album, it's a disgrace that more people aren't naming that one of the best black metal albums of the last 10 years. It's fucking incredible.
He definitely needs to make some new stuff.
Fuck yes. All right, I'm going to give it another minute.
Okay.
Fucking hell! That's. I mean, it doesn't even get top notch. It's
beyond top notch.
I was about to say it's beyond top notch. I was when I did the Nightmare review, I was like, we need to come up with a different tier because the Nightmare record to me, that's a beyond top notch. That single is a beyond top notch. I feel like the competition for the best record of 2023 is really, really heating up. But I mean, fuck me. It's going to take some doing to top this. This I would say is maybe one of the most impressive songs I've heard this year. I just love it. I can't tell you how much I love every fucking second of it.
Yeah, it's pretty perfect. Yeah, I'm very excited for this album. Like, it's one of those things where this album, if every song is as good as this, then it's gonna muscle its way up on the top 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, without a doubt. All right, bro. I know you're short of time, so I'll finish up on that note. We didn't get a chance to head over to the Democrats Guide to Rock Music, but we spoke about some of the themes that would have emerged if we were there anyway. But thanks very much for jumping on. It was a blast having you on doing this, and we must definitely do this more often.
Yeah, we definitely should. I think next time I jump on, we'll have to start a little bit earlier if we have to do it this time of day, so that way we can do the full thing and hit the Democrats Guide and everything.
Well, I think we did a good hour anyway, so
it's like an hour and a half.
Jesus, are you serious?
Yeah, almost.
All right. Well, anyways, on that note, my friends, this is the news rant wrapped up for this week. That is a wrap for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I will be back next week. I've got a couple of things in the pipeline. I have got Fabio of the band Hierophant recording an episode with him this coming Tuesday. On Thursday, I'm speaking to my man Swartalv of Nocturnal Breed. I've got a couple of other things in the offing. I've had a few conversations that were either in the process of being scheduled and never quite seemed to kind of get off the ground. And then I had a couple of cancellations as well. But be that as it may, the pipeline is healthy. So I will be back next week. Guest to be confirmed, but I thought I would just give you a preview of what's coming up anyway. I've also been closing off every one of these episodes with some old school stuff recently. So I'm going to continue that theme with what is, in my view, one of the very best death metal records released in the mid-90s. The album was called Hate. The band Sinister. They never quite reached the heights of this album again, but I feel like with their first three records, Cross the Sticks, Diabolical Summoning, and Hate, they really had the template laid down to be, one of the biggest death metal bands around, and for whatever reason, it just kind of fell apart. But, that being said, we've got three fucking brilliant records from their discography to live with us in infamy for the rest of our lives. And this should also probably be a hint for you to say that I've been thinking about mid-90s death metal, or at least 90s death metal of late, because myself and the Mikes Scandado and Hill have got our episode in the diary. We're going to be recording that in early June. So a 666 countdown of our favorite death metal records of the 90s. And then, of course, there will be sequels, black metal of the 2000s, death metal of the 2000s. Maybe we'll do a bit of thrash of the 80s. I don't know. We'll see how we go. But those are always fun to do. You guys really like them. So lots of great things coming your way. I want to thank everybody for their support. Thank you very much that, for the folks that week in and week out send me DMs about how much they enjoyed the episode, people that comment on YouTube, people that have been leaving me reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. It is hugely appreciated and, again, inspires and motivates me to hopefully do the best show for you that I possibly can. So until next week, my friends, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you bad motherfuckers again next Tuesday.
Spirit of the Horde.
out.